One bright afternoon, by the shining waters of the Sea of Galilee, Jesus had spent the whole day teaching and healing. The people gathered from every village, men and women, young and old, each one hoping to hear his voice
From dream. Blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it.
or feel his gentle touch. When the sun began to sink low and the air
Blessed
turned
are the
cool,
peacemakers,
Jesus looked at his
for they
disciples
shall be
and said,
called children of
"Let us
God."
go across to the other side of the lake." The disciples were glad to go. They helped Jesus into the small wooden boat, and soon they were rowing out across the calm blue water. Peter, James, and John, experienced fishermen, handled the oars with strong, steady strokes. The gentle wind filled the sail, and the boat glided smoothly across the lake. Jesus, tired from teaching all day, found a cushion in the back of the boat, lay down and fell asleep. His breathing was peaceful, his face calm, even as the evening shadows lengthened across the water. The disciples talked quietly as they rowed. "What an amazing day," whispered Andrew. "So many people healed. So many hearts full of hope." Peter smiled. "Yes," he said softly. "And look, he finally gets to rest." For a while all was peaceful. The lake shimmered under the fading light, and the first stars began to appear above the hills. But suddenly, the wind began to change. Dark clouds rolled in over the mountains. The calm air turned cold, and the waves began to rise. The disciples felt the first drops of rain. Then whoosh! A powerful gust struck the boat. The waves grew higher and higher, crashing against the sides. The little boat rocked wildly as water splashed over the edge. "Peter," shouted Andrew, "we're taking on water." Peter's voice rose above the wind. "Row harder. Bail it out." They tried, but the storm was too strong. The wind howled, lightning flashed, and thunder rolled over the lake. The disciples' hands slipped on the wet ropes as the waves crashed over them again and again. "Where's the master?" cried James. They looked toward the back of the boat, and there was Jesus, still asleep, calm and quiet in the middle of the storm. "Teacher," shouted Peter as he shook him. "Master, Master, we are perishing." Jesus opened his eyes. The wind roared, the waves pounded, and his disciples' faces were filled with fear. Slowly he stood up, his robe whipping in the wind. He looked out across the raging sea, lifted his hand and spoke. "Peace," he said. "Be still." At once the wind stopped. The waves fell silent. The sea became calm and smooth as glass. The storm was gone. The disciples stood frozen, their mouths open in awe. The only sound was the gentle dripping of water from the sides of the boat. Jesus turned to them and said quietly, "Why are you so afraid? Where is your faith?" They looked at one another, amazed. Peter whispered, "Who is this, that even the wind and the waves obey him?" The disciples could not forget what they had seen. They had been terrified one moment and safe the next, all because Jesus had spoken a single word. From that day on, whenever storms rose, on the sea or in their hearts, they remembered that night. They remembered how the wind had listened, how the waves had bowed, and how peace had returned at the sound of his voice. Because when Jesus is with you, no storm is too fierce, and no fear too great. His presence brings calm, even to the wildest sea. And so, the small boat sailed on beneath the quiet stars, carrying the disciples, and their Lord, the one whom even the wind and the waves obey.